It's Graham from Magic. Here we are in the midst of what many are calling a Black Swan event, an unexpected event that is impacting the markets and schools and things that could not really have been foreseen in terms of timing. And it reminds me of what we're also seeing are companies like Zoom and Slack and others like that promote teleworking and allow for remote working are seeing a huge increase in popularity. SignalKit, which is a online education platform for schools to communicate, also seeing a huge interest in their platform. Might be why they were recently acquired. Anyway, so times like this, I think it's appropriate to kind of discuss how opportunity plays a role in your business model and your plan. And sometimes you might hear from investors that you're too early. And that can mean an array of different things, but one of those things is that the market's not ready. There's no market validation yet for what your solution offers. Now with video conferencing, teleconferencing, we all know what the value that brings, and right now they're being more stress tested and load tested than anything else. But I'm reminded of a story I heard in the late 90s about CNN. About when CNN was started, there was a lot of skepticism about the need for 24-hour news. Some would say that there still isn't a need for 24-hour news, but at least back then there wasn't a demand for it as there is today. And that all changed very rapidly with the Gulf War. And once the Gulf War hit, CNN was poised to be the only 24-hour news channel that was providing coverage of that war for people who were, worried about their loved ones. So here we have an example of sort of a negative event that created an opportunity for an entire industry, really, but for specifically a handful of companies. Another company happened to be Diners Club International, oddly enough, because they had bought all of the advertising inventory for CNN, or a lot of it, back when CNN was selling it for real cheap. So you would have, in addition to seeing footage of bombs going into buildings, you would have seen Telly Savalas promoting Diners Club. And as I understand it, they were very successful that year as a result of that. So it has like a trickle-down effect, basically. And then there are positive examples of opportunities like this that come suddenly. I mean, usually it's either something like a war or a pandemic, but it can also be the advent of a new technology like a smartphone, like an iPhone, or satellites, or something that creates a whole new opportunity for industries and for companies that were otherwise struggling for relevancy. And then also my own personal experience. These times are very strange and surreal for me, because when I started Sick Weather with my co-founders back in 2011, a lot of people thought that tracking diseases, in real time using social listening was irrelevant. And now we're seeing how valuable that can be in the absence of clinical testing. And we've seen how testing isn't widely available yet. And so that is skewing all different percentages and rates of infection and mortality that public health is trying to put together right now about coronavirus. So without understanding what's happened as a baseline in the population before an outbreak, then you certainly can't really assess what's happening without a broader spectrum of testing being done before, during, and after the event. So it remains to be seen just what kind of impact this has on companies, not only like Sick Weather, but there were other organizations at the time, engaged in novel disease surveillance that, are being widely publicized now because of the current situation. So that's just another example that I can at least convey personally about how these shifts can occur. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's opportunity nonetheless for certain businesses and industries. And they say that luck is opportunity meeting preparation. So as long as you're prepared, as long as you're still around for the opportunity when it arrives, then you can actually calculate a certain amount of luck in certain cases. Anyway, I hope that's insightful.